a stuffed animal of himself. What is Coney Island? Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The category for final today is U.S. cities. Players, here's your clue. Celebrating electricity and...
Hi guys, someone has their TV on. I think it's Jeopardy or some other game. If you can mute, that'd be great. Thank you.
We're getting educated.
I like Jeopardy.
Well, I know, but
I wanted to know what the clue for Final Jeopardy was. Jenna.
It's
well, just
Philadelphia.
mute yourself. You know, we don't need to know here on the live stream.
I wondered if it was Fred. He looked really focused on something.
Oh, it wasn't me.
I didn't really think it was, to be honest, but what was a big show for you, Jess, growing up? Who said it wasn't me? I thought so.
I take the blame. Broad shoulders. Yelled at before.
Commissioners, just a heads up, we do have, I think, around 9 written comments for public comment. Just so you know, kind of ahead of time, and I think we have some on the line as well.
That's awesome news.
Yeah.
We are live.
Yep. We are live too, just so everyone knows. Just have a few minutes left and we'll get started at 6 o'clock.
Grab a iPod cord. There's no one in this way. No. Oh, darn. Oh, man. Another one right there with the title.
I do have all commissioners present. That's great. Not the official roll call, just me making sure our technology is working. All right, it's 6 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. The Monday, February 8th, 2021 meeting of the Market City Commission is now called to order at 6 p.m. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Justice for all.
City Clerk, could you please conduct the roll call, and Commissioners, please include your city and county location, if you're able to.
Mayor. Commissioner Bonzo,
Here, City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
Commissioner Davis,
Present, City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
Commissioner Hanley,
Here, City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
Commissioner Mayer,
You're unable to provide these military orders.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Here, City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Here, City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
and Mayor Smith.
Here, City of Marquette, County of Marquette. Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, we have an agenda. Do we have a motion on this agenda? Commissioner Bonzo?
Mayor Smith, I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Thank you. And do we have a second? Commissioner Davis?
I will second that motion.
Great. Any discussion? All right. Just looking around, make sure. It's a little more difficult on Zoom. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 7-0. Brings us to announcements, of which I have none for this evening. And then we will move on to boards and committees. So we have several appointments and reappointments tonight. They're two separate agenda items. Number 1 for appointments, number 2 for reappointments. And for item number 1, we've got 3 listed here. Commissioners, do we have a motion on the appointments listed on the agenda? Commissioner Davis?
Would you like these one at a time or all together?
Typically all together, and then if you have any comments afterwards, you're welcome to provide those.
Okay. Well, I make a motion to have the following appointments. Stephen Schmuck to the Peter White Public Library Board of Trustees for an unexpired term ending in 5/1/2023. Cesar Escobar to the Presque Isle Park Advisory Committee for an unexpired term ending 4/1/2023. And Robert Karen, Downtown Development Authority for a term ending in 1/1/2024.
Thank you. And do we have a second for that motion? Commissioner Mayer?
I'll second that motion.
Great. And Commissioner Davis, any comments or discussion on this item?
No comments, just glad to have them on board.
Excellent. Commissioner Mayer?
Same for me.
Any additional comments from the commission? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 7-0. Brings us to item number 2, reappointments. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Hanley?
I motion that we reappoint Aaron Andres to the Planning Commission for a term expiring 2/15/2024. Michael Larson to the Planning Commission for a term expiring 2/15/2024. Ellen Weingarten to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a term expiring 1/29/2024. Alex Tiso to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a term expiring 1/29/2024. And James Suserney to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a term expiring 1/29/2024.
And do we have a second for that motion? Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
I second these folks being reappointed to their various boards and committees.
Okay, and Commissioner Hanley, any discussion?
No, I would just like to say that I thank them for all of their service and their continued service to the city.
And Mayor Pro Tem Hill, any discussion?
Same thing. Thank you very much, everyone.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Bonzo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly say that, I did serve with Ms. Weingarten and Mr. Suserney on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board for about 2.5 years before I was elected to the commission, and it was a real pleasure, and I'm glad to see that they and the other 3 folks we just reappointed are signing up for another term.
Great. Any other commissioners? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed,
Yes.
please say no. Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to public comment. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. And I know we do have some written comments this evening. We will go ahead and start things out with any verbal comments on the Zoom calls. Do we have anyone in the waiting room? Okay, so we don't have any verbal, so we will go ahead to the written only. And I believe we have several. City Clerk, if you could read those, we'd appreciate it.
We do. I printed them out, so please bear with me. Our first comment tonight is from Margaret Brum, 4 East Magnetic Street, and she writes, I noticed in reviewing the agenda, there are a number of items that involve the city agreeing to fund an unbudgeted for item requiring a year-end budget adjustment. These include the consent agreement, Novatime software solution, $15,516, which was not anticipated at the beginning of the budget year. Unfinished business, city manager search consultant award, $15,800 in budget adjustment. Michigan Coastal Management Grant Agreement, $167,469 in cash and $22,351 in in-kind services. New business, firefighters labor agreement, $80,000 to switch to an hourly basis with possibly an additional $40,000 in overtime, and the fire department wage correction, $11,974.36. This is a lot of money for the city to have to spend with all of it being unbudgeted. Is the city going to be able to pay these amounts and still remain solvent for the year? Or will this extra spending cause the city to have a shortfall for this year's budget, requiring some other matter in the city budget to be dropped because the city cannot afford it? And the second comment is from Jude Catallo, 119 Lakewood Lane in Marquette. And Jude writes, public comment opposing MAMA vertical launch spaceport. The scheme by MAMA and short-sighted members of the county commission related to this vertical launch spaceport siting is the classic bait and switch ploy. What was initially outlined to the public was for any spaceport launch to be located at K.I. Sawyer. For decades, this has been an industrial developed site. It was a shock to almost everyone that the location was secretly changed to a priceless natural wild area, Granite Loma on the shore of Lake Superior. I would not expect the MAMA promoters of their heavy industry activities to have any loyalty or commitment to Marquette or the Lake Superior watershed, but those who know our history and have witnessed how painstakingly slow the industrial blight has been removed from our downtown lakeshore should have learned a lesson. We have made great progress in returning the lakeshore to a valuable and beautiful area. We must learn from our history. The underhanded way this plan has been revealed is unethical, and the jobs claimed could also be at Sawyer. In fact, the data from other similar vertical launch sites reveals that the number of jobs claimed to be created by MAMA is likely greatly overestimated. We also need to look at this from the 30,000-foot perspective. These satellites look to be primarily for e-commerce. Does that really help our local brick and mortar businesses be more competitive? Also, according to Science News 2020, astronomers are very concerned that the plethora of satellites planned can interfere with timely detection of near-Earth asteroids that could threaten life on our planet. For the above reasons and many others too numerous for this written public comment, the City Commission should pass a resolution requiring MAMA to abandon all vertical launch plans in Marquette. The third comment is from Judy Cornfoot at 1735 Fitch Avenue. And Judy writes, I am a City of Marquette resident, and I am curious that a commissioner suggested doing away with a parking ban for these new share housing. We have shared housing now, and they are not allowed to park their cars on the street during the winter snow ban times. Most of the streets where I live are small, and no way could we park on both sides of the street at night in the winter. We need to give time for the snow plows to clear the snow. The plow drivers cannot drive around cars. They need a clear place to clean. We live in an area where we have high snow totals. No way should we allow parking on the street at night. The reason our houses are priced higher than Negaunee or Ishpeming is because of the college and the hospital. Even cities like Ann Arbor that has U of M does not have affordable housing ownership for lower wage workers. This ad hoc group needs to find builders who want to build houses for $150,000 or less. Or maybe there should be a suggestion into looking into Negaunee or Ishpeming for house ownership. We cannot allow overnight car parking in the street at the current time. If the snow parking ban is not good for all citizens, then it is not allowed in a few special areas. And this next one is from Dennis Ferraro, who lists a PO box in the city of Marquette. And Dennis writes, on behalf of citizens for a safe and clean Lake Superior, following prior correspondence, we respectfully request that you pass a resolution opposing the proposed rocket launch site at Granite Loma. While you may not ultimately make regulatory or zoning decisions on this matter, its negative impact on regional quality of life and the local economy warrants your attention and public policy input. Lake Superior's coastal ecosystem drives sustainable growth through goods and services purchased and taxes paid by those drawn here by the beauty of and connection with a still wild natural environment. Published data places Marquette among the top 25 places for millennial job seekers due to national recognition for its excellent quality of life afforded by the beautiful UP wilderness and the virtually uninterrupted southern shoreline of Lake Superior. Best Value Schools lists NMU among the top 50 outdoor colleges because our students are surrounded by nature, close to Lake Superior, Marquette Mountain, and other beautiful locations. Zoning planners find that Marquette County is one of 2 Michigan counties recently increasing in population, benefiting economically from the city of Marquette, activity in the 550 recreational corridor, and robust real estate sales from Marquette to Big Bay. And yet now, a purely commercial venture intent on industrializing what remains of this coastal habitat poses a looming threat to the quality of life it provides and the vibrant economic growth it sustains. The proposed industrial use zone at Granite Loma will be so intense that explosive launch blasts will be seen and heard for miles around. Risk of explosions will require evacuation of at least 6 nearby residences. Falling rocket debris will endanger hunting, fishing, and other recreational activities below. Lighting and water towers will pollute day and nighttime views. Clear cutting will strip crucial habitat for vulnerable species. The launch site will be built on fragile wetlands with a water deluge shockwave suppression system, drawing large amounts of groundwater and or the already eroding lakeshore. Facts underscore the empty promises of more jobs for our community. With Chippewa County now the command and control center, a mere handful of jobs will come to Granite Loma, like at the Kodiak, Alaska's aerospace site, where only 5 people are employed to launch similar rockets. A bad bargain by any measure, one that will degrade the quality of life which draws people here. There's simply no compelling need to locate a commercial industrial launch site next to the largest surface area of fresh water on Earth when developed sites already exist elsewhere, like Kennedy Space Center's LC-48 complex or Wallops Island, Virginia, where the Washington Post describes that flights of rockets, just like those planned for Granite Loma, are visible up and down the Atlantic coast. Thanks for your consideration. We look forward to your response.
Hey, City Clerk, one point of order. That last comment by Mr. Ferraro, there was a P.O. box. I let it slide this time, but moving forward, if there are P.O. boxes attached to future comments, we need a physical address. So if someone wrote a comment tonight and they weren't corrected in time, we can go ahead and read it, but in the future, Mr. Ferraro and others, we need an actual address of where they're located. Thank you.
Noted. Continuing. This one is Keith Glendon, address 2971 State Highway 28 East. And Keith writes, my name is Keith Glendon, a business owner in the city of Marquette, a parent in the MAPS district and resident of Chocolate Township. I would like to share some feedback as a concerned community member. First, let me thank the members of the committee, the commissioners, city staff, and all the domain experts who contributed to this piece of work. Housing is a complex issue impacted by many variables, and the solutions are therefore complex as well. It takes time and sacrifice to conduct the research and compose the perspectives contained in this report, and I believe you're all due an acknowledgement of appreciation for your efforts. Thank you. In follow-up to this report, I would like to urge you to consider. The report seems to conclude that density is the magic bullet solution, while adding options for increased density are likely a sound component of balanced community planning. The report seems in favor of density being the only solution. While the report mentions in passing improvements in modular construction, there is no in-depth analysis of how the trends and possibilities of modular technology might be embraced as a key solution component. A full assessment of these and other innovative housing approaches is crucial to be considered in final recommendations regarding housing. The report omits impact analysis of the degree to which our city's infrastructure can reasonably absorb the growth by density approach. It seems this should be a key consideration. A perhaps relevant question is the matter of public health. As we continue to deal with a global pandemic, one might reasonably ask whether community planning ought to take into account such things as the flow and congestion and proximity of humans as one factor in patterns of the spread of disease. Climate change, the report omits any direct questions about the likelihood of our probable futures. It seems prudent to consider the impact of climate change and related trends on what will be sustainable for our community. Alternative construction, blue tech, green tech, eco-tech solutions to housing. We might borrow from our Anishinaabe hosts on this land and consider the idea of 7-generation philosophy. How will our housing and zoning decisions now impact our community's descendants 7 generations hence? I encourage the members, stakeholders, and influencers connected with this discussion to have the courage to ask, what should we be doing for the future, not just the immediate future? Please solicit input from others, not just developers. Finally, I'd like to encourage the leadership of Marquette City Planning to consider creative ways to solve multiple problems, housing, energy, infrastructure, economic development, under one umbrella by looking toward the opportunity zone as a place for innovation. Thank you for considering my input. And this comment is from Patricia Vasilek, apologies. And she writes 605 Brookstone Court in Marquette, and she writes, I would like to request that the city of Marquette now send and officially publish a letter to Governor Whitmer clarifying that the city's letter of May 17th, 2019 to the governor was never intended to be used to support a proposed rocket launch site on Lake Superior. Thank you. And this is the last written comment for this comment period. This is from James Roach, writing from 4720 Humble Road in Missoula, Montana. And he writes, my name is Jim Roach. I live in Missoula, Montana, but have deep and long-standing ties to Marquette and the UP, and I journey there with my family whenever we can. My grandfather owned a wholesale grocery business, Roach and Sieber, that operated in Marquette and Houghton in the early 1900s. My family still owns a primitive cabin at Buck Row along Highway 550, not far from the proposed spaceport at Tony's Point, called the Granite Loma Spaceport. My dad, William Roach, became an obstetrician practicing in Chicago. He always had an abiding love of his hometown and the UP, and our family would escape to Buck Row at every opportunity. I spent many hours along the rugged granite coastline of that point, camping, fishing, swimming, and just exploring the unique and beautiful area. Now I learned that this beautiful coastline is threatened by a proposed industrial spaceport. The project, originally slated for the underused K.I. Sawyer Air Base as a horizontal launch, has morphed into a vertical launch site with all its disruptive infrastructure to be carved into that pristine coastline. The lobbying association, MAMA, that is pushing the spaceport has created a fairy tale of abundant jobs, minimal environmental disruption, and an innocuous presence that will be nearly unnoticeable to coastal visitors and residents alike. Beware the false claims of jobs and economic growth. These claims have been researched and widely debunked by Citizens for a Safe and Clean Lake Superior, CSCLS. Missoula, Montana is remarkably similar to Marquette, a college town surrounded by a clean and beautiful landscape that provides wonderful opportunities for a burgeoning outdoor recreation economy. The culture in Missoula greatly values our natural beauty, and we find ourselves always having to protect it against corporate entities that promise jobs and downplay the damage their activities pose to our environment. We are surrounded by great swaths of public land, which gives us some protections against destructive development. In Marquette, I know the culture is the same, and UP natives very much value the stunning beauty that surrounds them and will fight to protect it. In Montana, the outdoor economy generates $7.1 billion annually, creates 71,000 direct jobs, and results in $286 million in state and local taxes. Headwaters Economics report on Montana's outdoor recreation economy. Marquette, like Missoula, is nationally recognized as one of the country's most livable cities, with its proximity to natural beauty being one of the major draws. The key to Marquette's prosperity lies in its swaths of largely untrammeled woodlands, the serenity that a clean, natural environment brings, and the priceless blessing of sitting on the coast of the most beautiful body of fresh water in the world. Please do not allow these irreplaceable assets to be put at risk. Don't facilitate the industrialization of a unique and stunning stretch of Lake Superior coastline. This is no place for a spaceport. I hope the city of Marquette will do what it can to stop this destructive project. Thank you. And that is all I have for this moment in the meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk. All right, so public comment is now closed. I have one presentation tonight by the Marquette Housing Commission. Jackie Stark has joined us. Jackie, I believe you're on here. I'm trying to find you on this Zoom. Saw you. Where'd you go?
I'm right here.
Hi, Jack. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for the
Hi.
presentation. You can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I have a PowerPoint here that I'm gonna share with everybody. So everybody can see that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you. Thanks for your time today. Sharon is also here. She's our executive director. So as we're going through this, if there's any questions her or myself can answer them for you. So I'm just going to slide this over. So we're chartered under the laws of the state of Michigan to provide and administer affordable housing programs for the citizens of the city of Marquette. I guess before I really get into it, I just want to make the distinction for anyone that's listening. I know the commissioners know this, but this is the Marquette Housing Commission, which is separate from the Ad Hoc Housing Committee, which just had the work session with the City Commission. So I just want to make sure anyone who's watching knows that we're two separate organizations. So we provide safe, sanitary, affordable housing to low and moderate income individuals and families, and to promote personal responsibility and self-sufficiency to residents while maintaining fiscal integrity. Along with that, our mission is also to provide adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination for our residents. We have a 5-member board on our commission. Myself, Jorma Lankinen, Paul Schumacher, John Norberg, and Liberty Turner. Our meetings are typically held the 4th Tuesday of the month at noon at Pine Ridge. As of late, we've been having our Zoom meetings instead, but generally we meet at Pine Ridge at noon. And all of our meeting minutes are available on our website. In addition, we have staff. Sharon is our executive director, and then we also have staff at Pine Ridge and Lake Superior Village who make sure that things are moving along nicely and that residents have what they need. So we own and operate 257 units of public housing within the city limits. This is a combination of 140 elderly and disabled 1- and 2-bedroom units at Pine Ridge. And then at Lake Superior Village, we have 117 family units of 2-, 3-, and 4-bedroom townhomes. We also provide housing vouchers throughout the city of Marquette, and we can administer 50 of those as of now. So this is probably the most significant change from previous presentations. We have gone through a RAD conversion. This is something that the Department of Housing and Urban Development has encouraged public housing to do. And basically it gives us access to different types of funding that allows us to use more of our funding to do capital improvements. So that's kind of the big difference between previous years to this year. We also receive money from tenants for rent and repairs. We do get some income from laundry at Pine Ridge and also from rooftop antenna rentals on top of Pine Ridge. But essentially right now we no longer have an operating and a capital fund. We just have one fund that we're allowed to use in a way that we see as best for the residents. So just a little close-up of Pine Ridge. It's on the east side of Marquette. Tenants who live here are elderly, disabled, and or low income. Again, it's 140 units with 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. Tenants currently pay 30% of their adjusted gross income for rent, along with a $25 minimum for utilities, gas, electric, water, and sewer. Cable and telephone is not provided, but internet is available to residents. Additionally, we have free parking. There is a library on the main floor with with computers, excuse me, that have access to free internet. There's 24-hour emergency maintenance. There's also a MarkTran bus stop on site with a shelter, which especially now is helpful. We have a community room, an outdoor seating area, on-site laundry, and small pets are allowed. Currently, we have over 100 applicants on the wait list at Pine Ridge. Typically, it's 6 to 12 months wait time, and preference points include being a City of Marquette resident and being part of a working family, being disabled, or being elderly. Over at Lake Superior Village, one of the nice things about that is its proximity to the university. We are currently in the process of adding 2 units, one of which will be handicap accessible. So right now we have 114 townhomes that's meant for family housing. There's also access to public transportation at Lake Superior Village and on-site management and maintenance. And then we have our Housing Choice Voucher Program, which essentially allows people to live with subsidized housing, not necessarily in these two places. So they can take these vouchers and live in privately owned residences where landlords accept the vouchers. Some of the benefits include having a little more freedom regarding where they're able to live. Units have to pass HUD housing quality standards, so they are inspected before residents live there. And they can also be located anywhere in the county rather than specifically in the city of Marquette. So it allows them to live in places that are best for them. You know, not all the low income people that run through our programs work in the city of Marquette. So sometimes it's best for them to live closer to their work. It allows households to receive that rental assistance where it's most needed. And it's also portable, so it's tied to the family and not to the unit. So if they do need to move, that voucher goes with them. So it's similar to how rent is determined in Lake Superior Village and at Pine Ridge. It's 30% of their adjusted monthly income, and then the voucher covers the rest. This is known as HAP, or Housing Assistant Payment. So we're currently assisting 38 families in Marquette and outlying areas. And that does not include families with temporary vouchers that are searching for units to lease that fall under the payment standard and comply with HQS standards. So we also wanted to add a little bit about the Pine Ridge fire follow-up. So as you know, there was a large fire there. It mostly impacted the 9th floor, the top floor. Residents were displaced for a time. We are back, residents are back living on the 9th floor. The units have been repaired and renovated. Insurance has covered much of the necessary repairs, some of which the Housing Commission did have to cover, but for the most part, our insurance has been helping with those costs. And then Lake Superior Village, I don't know if you have been over there recently, but you may have seen some renovations that are occurring at our units over there. This is part of our RAD conversion. As part of that process, it included fairly extensive renovations to Lake Superior Village. So they are right now going to be getting new AC systems, full kitchen and bathroom renovations, new siding and windows, and the addition of the one accessible unit, as I mentioned earlier. Pine Ridge also was planned to have renovations as part of the RAD conversion, but so we ended up doing some additional things as a result of the fire. It just seemed prudent to do them at the same time. So Pine Ridge is also getting new windows, upgraded laundry rooms, renovated elevators and bathrooms. There's going to be 6 accessible apartments and new flooring and carpeting throughout. And for anyone interested in applying for housing, they can pick up an application at Pine Ridge or Lake Superior Village. Applications are also available on our website. The Housing Choice Voucher Program, however, is not currently accepting applications. And that is my very quick presentation. So I'll stop the screen share now and see if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Jackie. Nice presentation. Commissioners, any questions or comments for Jackie in the Housing Commission? Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
Thank you. That was very interesting and a good high-level summary. My question with these conversions, can you hear me okay? Because I'm getting a little feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. And all these improvements, is that a one-time thing, or is there going to be a plan for maintenance going forward? And how does this gets done and then is so that we don't have to go 20 years for another improvement? How are these things going to be maintained and cared for in the new funding scheme?
Sharon, I don't know if you want to handle that. I would just say that there is planned maintenance. As we go through and renovate the buildings, we are planning to maintain them so they stay in as nice a condition as possible.
On the semantic level of it, we have different funders that are requiring that we make sure that we maintain our units. What we did originally was did a 20-year look ahead of what we would need. And we are looking at replacing everything that's going to need repairs in the next 20 years. Then we have what's called a reserve for replacement account. And that reserve for replacement account, we are required to do annual deposit, or I'm sorry, monthly deposits into that account so that there will be adequate funding to replace any of the things in the next 20 years, such as roofs. When that 15-year mark rolls along, we will have adequate funding to replace all of our roofs.
And that was sort of the problem, right? That's part of the reason why this new funding stream was started, in order to make sure that this kind of work would happen. And this is all, just could you just clarify this is all money that's allocated by HUD to Marquette according to what kind of formulas?
The original formulas were based on an annual budgetary formula. We were previously getting about 85% of what we needed to operate. And then the capital fund wasn't based on a formula based on need. It was just based on a formula on what the government felt like they wanted to put towards us. So it was a real variable amount of money that we were receiving. What we are currently doing is we are currently receiving a set amount of money every month for rental subsidy. That will keep us at a level funding period so that we can pay our loans back. We can put that money in the reserve for replacement. The front end money is coming through a MSHDA loan, a home loan, and tax credits.
Do you have more, Mayor Pro Tem?
No, that I guess I just I appreciate that there was a time when we took care of making sure that people had housing, and as we're looking forward, and I really appreciate all the work that's been done over the years by folks to make sure that we have these 257 units, and I really appreciate at this time of great housing need that this service is there, and thank you.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Davis?
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Stark. I was struck by your mission that said that you serve low and moderate income residents. And I'm wondering if you can give us a percentage or some idea of the low and some idea of the moderate income people that you serve.
Yeah, so I would say the vast majority of the residents that we serve are living at or below 60% of the federal median income level. So I think we're hitting kind of the low income end.
Okay, and I'm not surprised by that. I'm a little bit disturbed by 107 people on the wait list. I'm wondering if those same 107 are on wait lists for the other low-income housing units in our city, you know, Oriana Ridge and Whetstone Village. Do you have a feel for that?
That I do not know. I don't know if Sharon would know if they're on other wait lists.
Yes, very, very few people are on one wait list.
Okay, so pretty much we could say there's 107 people or families in our community that really are searching for low-income housing. Then the other
little clarification. A little clarification on that is those are not necessarily people in our community. People on the wait list could be from anywhere, and some are from very much out of town.
Okay. And then this is a little bit different topic, but I noticed that you're not accepting vouchers at present, and I'm wondering when the last time you were able to accept voucher requests.
That list has been closed for about 6 months to a year. The big problem with vouchers is housing costs go up, funding doesn't.
Okay, thank you.
Other commissioner? Commissioner Bonzo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Jackie and Sharon, thank you very much for your service, and thank you to everybody on the Housing Commission. It's an incredibly important job that you all do. I think that's, evident not only in your presentation, but also in some of the conversations we've had over the last year, because of course you're both serving on the Marquette Ad Hoc Housing Committee as well. And so I really appreciate your insights and your input into that. I have to say I'm also, and I understand, that some of these folks are perhaps from out of town, right? But I also have to say I agree with Commissioner Davis that I've been disturbed about having 100+ applicant wait list for low-income housing in Marquette, basically since I learned that was an issue better part of a year ago when we had our first Marquette Housing Committee meeting. 6 to 12 month anticipated wait time is incredibly long. It just seems to me that we could really use, there's clearly a shortage of subsidized low-income housing in Marquette as well. We often have discussions about missing middle housing, but there clearly seems to be a low-income housing shortage in Marquette as well. And I'm curious if either of you have any ideas about what we could do to try and create new subsidized low-income units in Marquette. And I'm also just curious, we saw the Pine Ridge wait list, but is there a wait list at Lake Superior Village as well? And if so, what does that look like?
There is a wait list also at Lake Superior Village. There are 3 separate wait lists. The 2-bedroom wait list is quite lengthy. The 3-bedroom wait list is very short. And the 4-bedroom wait list is beyond lengthy. What happens a lot of times is the people that are on the 4-bedroom wait list wind up squeezing into the 3-bedroom. And then as soon as we get a 4-bedroom open, we would transfer somebody that's been in that have been underhoused into that 4-bedroom. I don't know the numbers. What I can tell you is that wait list has been closed for a period of time, and that was more for management convenience than tenants. And right now we are looking at reopening that waiting list tomorrow. So if you know anybody who needs a 3-bedroom, definitely get on that waiting list as soon as possible. And I do anticipate quite a few people will get on that waiting list tomorrow. As far as what we can do, subsidies are not something that are coming out. You are not going to get new subsidies. The way that the federal government has addressed that is through tax credits. And unfortunately, tax credits is the group that focuses more on the middle income, the 60 to 80%. And we are able to serve the 0 to 80%. We have people with 0 income. And there are no new subsidies for that. The only way that would happen would be if a local government or the state government were to put in some funding for that, because the federal government is not going to create new subsidies.
I would
Okay,
also
so
very briefly, I apologize.
no, go ahead, go ahead, Jackie.
I just wanted to add to that I've only been on the Housing Commission for a couple of years, and in that time, pretty much all of our meetings have been about this conversion. It's a really long process. It took a long time. Sharon did really great work getting us through it. And now that it's completed, it's going to give us an opportunity to focus on creative solutions to help provide, if possible, additional subsidized housing.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And certainly there are many state and federal policy hurdles that we have to get over, but it clearly does seem to be a need in the community. And I know that the Ad Hoc Housing Committee had expressed an interest in discussing this issue further over the next few months before our final report is submitted to the commission. So hopefully we'll have some more productive conversations then. The only other question that I had right now is if you could perhaps just provide more clarification about what we think the cause of the Pine Ridge fire was and what has been done to prevent something like that from happening in the future. I live right across the street from Pine Ridge, and it was quite an event, and it was really, of course, a tragedy for our community. So just appreciate some more details on that.
Commissioner Davis, do you have anything that you want to add to that? Because I can honestly tell you, I have no idea. We still don't know the cause or origin. I have
think
no
maybe
idea.
you mean Fire Chief Davis. Is that what you were?
Oh, sorry.
I see Commissioner Sally Davis looks quite concerned right now. I'm hoping maybe the fire chief can chime in.
Yes, unfortunately, that investigation is with the state and the insurance companies, and we have not gotten an update either.
Yeah, we've been hoping for some time that the insurance companies would be able to determine a cause of the fire, but they have, as of yet, have not determined and have been unable to.
A lawsuit is about to begin where our insurance company is suing their insurance company. So.
All right. Well, hopefully we will all learn the truth of the matter sooner or later, because I do think that's an important issue. I just wanted to mention that. Other than that, I just want to, again, thank you for the work that you're doing. I'm looking forward to having some more discussions about low-income housing availability and accessibility on the ad hoc housing committee at some point in the next few months. And I appreciate both of you for your service on that committee and also, of course, on the Housing Commission. So thank you.
Commissioner Stonehill?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Mackey, Ms. Stark, thank you very much for the presentation. It was most illuminating and really very badly needed. But some questions. We clearly have a broken federal housing voucher program. And clearly that's not something that Marquette can fix, other than lobbying the federal government to fix the program. So I think we need to be aware of that that's a federal program that's broken. And as a result, people are certainly having problems. It's also worth, I think, understanding that the Housing Commission serves all comers, right? In other words, you don't differentiate between being a City of Marquette resident versus being somebody from the county or somebody from downstate or somebody from somewhere. So when we look at perhaps what the City of Marquette should be doing to make up for the housing shortfall, we have to take in mind that we cannot provide housing for everybody in the county or in the state. We have to focus on those people that are legitimately City of Marquette residents. At least my view on it. Otherwise, we get this skewed notion of how many people are really out there and who's responsible for them. And City of Marquette has a small piece of that, but so does Marquette County. And so does Ishpeming, and so does Negaunee, and so does Marquette Township, and so does Mount Pleasant, Michigan. That I think we have to look at it in that aspect, so we don't get too balled up in the concept that it's all City of Marquette's problem. And it's not. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, most definitely. People tend to flock towards Marquette because of the amenities, because of the services. And one of the things that we are doing is we have put preference points in place for both the Housing Choice Voucher and the Pine Ridge and Lake Superior Village, which basically what that means is if you live or work in the City of Marquette, you get bumped up a little bit higher on the waiting list. That is our effort to try and serve the people in the City of Marquette instead of trying to serve, like you are saying, everybody.
Well, great. Thank you very much for letting me know that. But I just wanted to make sure that we all understood the problem in a different point of view than simply being all of our problem, City of Marquette's problem. But again, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the great presentation. Thank you for letting us have some good information. Thank you, Your Honor.
Other commissioners? Just making sure that I've had a chance to, sometimes I have to flip between more than one Zoom screen here, so I want to make sure I've given everyone the chance. Okay. I don't see any other commissioners with a comment. I just wanted to, add in my 2 cents as someone who started out on the Housing Commission back in 2015 to 2017. I think about 4.5 years ago was when the RAD discussion started. Does that sound right, Sharon?
At least, yes.
And I remember that. It was right in the very beginning of that project that I joined the City Commission. And it's really great to hear that that has come full circle and you guys have worked hard to make that happen, because I know that it was fraught with legal complexities and logistical challenges and a lot of work that maybe you wouldn't have in a typical year. So congratulations on working through that. I think you've done a great deal of service for the residents in those units, the present ones and the ones of the future, and for folks looking for more low-income housing options in Marquette. So nice job, and I know you're continuing to improve and find ways to be creative. So really glad to hear that that's kind of, you know, well on its way, because I think the last time we got a presentation update, it wasn't completed yet. So that was good news. So yeah, just thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Nice job, Jackie. Thank you, Sharon, for chiming in as well. Appreciate you answering the commissioner questions. And as Commissioner Bonzo mentioned, I know we'll probably be talking with both of you as we move forward with this housing discussion on a broader scale in the city of Marquette. So thank you both for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to, we have item number 4 here. We have a public hearing. This is on the rezoning of 5 improperly zoned properties. This will require a roll call vote. City Clerk, could you please read the background?
Thank you, Mayor. Background. Under the procedures of Section 54.1405 of the Land Development Code, the LDC, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on November 17th, 2020 for the consideration of the rezoning of 5 properties located near the Northern Michigan University campus, as presented by staff as part of the recent updates to the Land Development Code. The properties were rezoned improperly as civic zoning districts, like other NMU properties, via amendments to the official zoning map when the Land Development Code was initially adopted in February of 2019. The 5 properties are 908 Center Street, 1700 Tracy Avenue, 1705 Schaefer Avenue, 1706 Schaefer Avenue, and 1829 Van Evera Avenue. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the request to revise the zoning to medium-density residential, which correlates to the prior assigned zoning for the 5 properties. The motion from the Planning Commission, it was moved by Sarah Middlefelt and seconded by M. Larson, and carried 5-0 that after conducting a public hearing and review of the application and staff report for 02-REZ-11-20, the Planning Commission finds that the proposed rezoning is justified, but not consistent with the community master plan due to an error in the community master plan that led to the error in the rezoning during the process of a blanket rezoning of multiple properties when the Land Development Code was adopted in February of 2019, and that the proposed rezoning otherwise meets the requirements of the Land Development Code section 54.1405, and hereby recommends that the City Commission approve 02-REZ-11-20 as presented. The official zoning map will be revised to reflect approval of this request if it is approved. Tonight's public hearing was scheduled during the Commission's regular meeting of January 11th, 2021. Fiscal effect, none. Recommendation, following the public hearing, approve the rezoning of the 5 properties as recommended by the Planning Commission. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. I will go ahead and open our public hearing now. Public hearing on rezoning of 5 improperly zoned properties is now open. Members wishing to make a comment on the public hearing have 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name and physical address. We have anyone?
We have one caller, I'm not sure if they're here for this. Or the second public.
Okay, we have one caller, and we're going to check and see if they'd like to make a public, or I should say, comment during the public hearing, or if they're here for the second public comment session.
Hello?
Hi, are you here for the public hearing on our 5 improperly zoned properties?
No, I'm not here to comment on that. I may be asked to comment at the end of at the second public comment session.
Sure. And what is your name, just so I have it on record, sir?
Yeah, my name is Dennis Ferraro.
Okay,
and
thank you, Mr. Ferraro. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just appearing on behalf of the Citizens for a Safe and Clean Lake Superior.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Ferraro, we will give you a chance to comment at the end of the meeting. So we
Okay.
have no other folks on Zoom for the public hearing at this point?
Correct, we do have one written comment.
We do have one written comment on this public hearing. So City Clerk, could you please read the
Absolutely.
written comment, public hearing?
So the written comment for the public hearing comes from Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street. And she writes, I read the agenda item about these 5 improperly zoned properties and am very confused as to why these properties are improperly zoned relative to their status as single-family housing. If the use of the property itself has not changed, how come the people doing the rezoning with the Land Development Code got the zoning for these properties so wrong in the first place? Was someone new to this type of work responsible for this mistake? And has the city conducted an audit of the zoning status for other properties in this area to make sure there aren't any more mistakes in the zoning in this area?
Thank you, City Clerk. And we have no further comment on this public comment session. Is that correct? Okay. All right, public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Bonzo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we approve the rezoning of the 5 properties as recommended by the Planning Commission.
And we have a second. Commissioner Mayer?
I second the motion.
Commissioner Bonzo, any discussion?
And I think this is a very common sense action. I understand, the concern that was expressed in public comment about, well, how did this happen in the first place? But I think that we all need to remember that the new Land Development Code was a truly tremendous effort. And that ultimately, our zoning code is an effort to rationalize organized chaos. And the reality of development and our neighborhoods in the city is extremely complicated. And so I think it's almost inevitable that there were going to be some errors that were made. And this is one of them. We've dealt with a couple of others with conditional rezoning requests in the past. So, I'm not sure there's much more to it other than that with such a complex project, there were bound to be a couple of understandable oversights. And thankfully, this hasn't really done anybody any harm.
Commissioner Mayer, anything to add?
I would just add that the software for actually mapping out these types of things is very complicated, and it would not be very difficult for this to accidentally happen given the size of the NMU's area on the actual zoning code map. So, it was a simple mistake, and we're addressing it now that we're aware of it.
Any other commissioners? All right, seeing no additional discussion, City Clerk, could we please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bonzo,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to our consent agenda. Commissioners, do we have a motion on the consent agenda? Commissioner Stonehouse?
Your Honor, I motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Hanley?
I second that motion.
Any discussion?
No.
Hearing no discussion, all in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 7-0. And moving on to unfinished business, RFP 21-01, City Manager Search Consultant Award. City Clerk, could you please read the background?
Thank you, Mayor. On December 1st, City Manager Mike Angeli provided to the Mayor and City Commission his letter of intent to retire on May 31st, 2021. Since the City Manager reports directly to the City Commission, the Mayor proposed a subcommittee of 3 City Commissioners be formed to develop a process to use for filling the upcoming vacancy. The subcommittee was formed by Commission action on December 4th, 2020, with the charge to review options for the City Manager replacement process and to put forward a recommendation for approval by the full Commission. Since that time, the subcommittee, consisting of Commissioners Davis, Mayer, and Stonehouse, has met and determined it would be in the best interest of the city to seek proposals for executive recruitment services by hiring a consultant. An RFP was advertised seeking these services with the required response deadline of January 22nd. The subcommittee received 6 responses and met to review and evaluate the proposals received. The subcommittee recommends Walsh Municipal Services LLC based on their scope of services, proposed process, favorable references, and expertise in executive recruitment in municipal government in Michigan. Fiscal effect, Walsh Municipal Services LLC has a not to exceed cost for services of $15,800. The cost for candidate travel may be brought back to the commission for approval at a future date as needed. This cost will require a budget adjustment. Recommendation, approve the selection of Walsh Municipal Services LLC of Okemos, Michigan as the city manager search consultant, authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the professional services contract, and approve the corresponding budget adjustment. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. And I was going to call on one of the committee members to give us a little bit more information, and I'm just debating now whether I do that now or after a motion is made. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Stonehouse to help us with that. Commissioner Stonehouse, what do you think? Should we do it before or after a motion?
I think it's your pleasure, Your Honor.
Let's go ahead. If you could give us a little bit more information, I'd certainly appreciate it.
Surely. I think the committee dug very deep. And one of the concerns that the committee had looking at all of the applicants, everybody that put in the or responded to the RFP, was the full realization that whoever we hire, we want to make sure that they represent the face of Marquette, because they literally become our recruiter to go out, beat the streets, find the candidates, and then winnow through those candidates and come up with the best 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, that they can present to the city commission to have the commission work with those people and pick the best. But the critical point here is they represent, that consultant, that fellow out there doing the work, the face of the city of Marquette. So we were very concerned that they would have an understanding of the city of Marquette, of what the city had, of how we were unique from other communities in the state and in the region. So that took a little bit of I think, of talking through. And really, when you think of Marquette and you think of how different we are, I mean, we're a 21st century city, quite literally in the middle of the woods, with wonderful nature around us. We're a center of banking in the Upper Peninsula. We have a regional medical center. We have a medium-sized university. We have literally the best hunk of seacoast anywhere in the Great Lakes. When we look at our lakeshore, and the fullest understanding of that is all publicly owned virtually and publicly accessible. And those are attributes that are very important when you represent the city. When you understand in the city the importance we place on recreation, for example. I mean, we have 16 miles of multi-purpose trail in the city. We've got another 49 out in the Heartwood. The entrepreneurs we have in the city and how they're connected to the web and literally living the 21st century lifestyle. These are all things that make Marquette special. And we want to make sure that the person we recommended to the committee, or rather to the commission, would be somebody who could carry those attributes forward and understood the city. I think what was most important to us too was the fact that we were able to actually talk with 4 different references, all of which I happen to know for 15, 20 years, that had worked with this particular company and had been very impressed with them. Normally, when you get an RFP with references on it, they're all boilerplate. There are people you've never heard of. Maybe you're not sure I'm getting the best information from them. But in this instance, 4 people, 2 different cities, really spoke strongly to the quality of the fellow, quality of the firm that we're recommending you accept. And the vote from the committee was universal, Your Honor. It was 1, 2, 3. So this represents all of us, not just 2, which is not just 1. Thank you for the opportunity to explain that a little bit. And it's appreciated. And any of my committee members, if you have anything you think you'd like to add, I think that would be important.
Commissioner Davis?
I will just, there isn't a whole lot I can add to Commissioner Stonehouse's eloquence in describing why we chose the consultant that we did. But I will say that as we looked at the 6 proposals, 2 of them floated to the top. But Commissioner Stonehouse talked about how we were able to check references that knew quite a bit about him. And we also had a phone interview with him, which I found to be very helpful. So I feel very confident in our choice.
Excellent, thank you. And Commissioner Mayer, do you have anything to add?
I'm not sure if I could think of anything to add past what Commissioner Stonehouse and Davis have said, but I would just agree with the fact that I was very impressed with this firm and with him, and I think he's going to do a great job.
All right, sounds good. Well, we do still have to take a vote here, but it sounds like the committee has made a pretty solid a pitch here, and that's what they're recommending. So commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
Oh, I just moved my mouse and I can't see. Sorry. I move that we approve the selection of Walsh Municipal Services LLC of Okemos, Michigan as the city manager search consultant, authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the professional services contract and approve the corresponding budget adjustment.
And do we have a second on this motion? Commissioner Hanley?
I second that motion.
And Mayor Pro Tem Hill, anything to add as a motion maker?
Could someone please just quickly review the proposed timeline, and which I think looks terrific. And I also just want to take this time to thank the members of the committee for doing such solid work. And I think we're heading off in a really good direction. Thank you.
Maybe Commissioner Stonehouse, would you be willing to take that one?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't have the document in front of me, Mayor Pro Tem, but the time starts running now, and the decision base by timeline should be made sometime early in May, if not before. So that would allow them a theoretical 30 days of interface between whoever is selected and when Mike would leave. That may be truncated a bit, but I think that's the timeline we're working to. It's important that we get it done tonight because it still keeps us to that schedule.
The city manager brought over the timeline for me. You probably can't see this here, but I'll put it up there. It is in the packet. On page, I don't know what page this is on. This is not numbered here.
Yeah, I just wanted to get it out there that we're going to be moving quickly and take that up.
I'll go ahead and read this out. The proposal here is February 2021 firm selection by the commission. Again, in February, community stakeholder meetings, interviews with the city commission. That's the whole month of February. March 8th, city commission approves candidate profile. March 12th, job announcement posted on multiple sites. March 12th through April 9th, recruitment period. April 9th, deadline to apply. April 17th, city commission meets in closed session to review candidates. April 19th, city commission announces 5 finalists. May 2nd, public interviews. May 3rd through 10th, final background check. And May 10th, city commission approves new manager contract. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Hill, any other discussion?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Hanley, any discussion?
Just to thank the commissioners that did the work on this. They found a great candidate from everything that I've seen in the packet that we were given, and I'm really excited to move forward with this, even though I'm very sad to lose Mike.
You made Mike happy, so nice job, Commissioner Hanley. You can't see him, but he's over there, raising his hand. Other commissioners' discussion on this vote, on this topic here. Commissioner Mayer?
I guess 2 things. One, I mean, whoever the new city manager is, they have very large shoes to fill. That's for sure. But the other thing that I wanted to mention was something that was mentioned on this item, public comment, was the budget adjustment. All I would say to that is it's impossible to anticipate what this was going to cost last time we were going through the budget, or I guess the commission at the time was, because I wasn't present. But every RFQ we received had a different price amount. Mike could have just not retired if he didn't want to. So there was no way to budget this last year, is all I wanted to point out.
And I just want to add that we didn't have the retirement letter until December 1, and the budget starts October 1. So, while we may have had some idea, nothing was official at budget time. Other commissioners? All right, I think we are ready to take a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 7-0. Now that the motion is passed, I did want to take a moment to say hello to Mr. Frank Walsh. He has joined us on our call. Thank you, Mr. Walsh, for joining us. We look forward to working with you. And I was wondering if you could maybe give a summary of how you think kind of the next steps in the process will go for the benefit of the commission and for the public. Maybe just a kind of a high level, not real long, but just get us going here on what we can look forward to. We appreciate your willingness to work with us.
Well, thank you, Mayor Smith. I appreciate it. The first thing I want to do is thank the committee. In fact, I'm going to go back and watch the Commissioner Stonehouse's comments. I just think he just wrote the community profile, so it was eloquent. So, and Commissioner Mayer and Davis, and I also want to thank Jennifer LePage. She's been great to work with, very timely, and we've had great communication so far. Yeah, my firm is in Okemos. We're a stone throw from the Spartan Stadium down here at MSU. We've been doing this for 23 years. And what happens now is I take the next 30 days and I interview through phone interviews with the city commission, your key department heads, anyone in the community that you would like me to talk to, chamber director, school superintendent. I gather all that information. And keep in mind, the profile is all about selling Marquette. It's not so much the job. The people looking for this job, they'll know what a city manager does. The profile is to say, look at beautiful Marquette. It's superior. Will draw their attention, and hopefully you saw that with the Frankenmuth and Celine proposals that I included. We do that, and then after a period of about 30 days, we begin the next 30 days, and that's recruiting candidates. And I just don't sit back and wait for them to apply. I go out, I use my connections throughout the state, and in fact throughout the nation that I've built over the years, and reach out and bring people to Marquette. I'm just finishing a search in Durand, Michigan, a town that did the recruitment 4 years ago. I didn't do it. They had about 30 applicants. We just finished it. The council's going to select their candidates this week, and there's 61. So we work really hard to draw candidates. And from there, I bring them to you, and you meet, review them. If they requested confidentiality, that's done through closed session under the Michigan Open Meetings Act. And after that, you announce your finalist. There's a lot of reference checks that go on. There's background checks. There's all kinds of information, and hopefully all this rolls out. Diversity is going to be really important to us. You know, there's a 1650. There's not enough women in local government in Michigan. It's 16% of managers in Michigan are women. I'm proud to say in 6 of the last searches I've done, 3 have been females. So we're really working hard at increasing that as well. We guarantee our work, and I can tell you I will be completely lockstep with Marquette as we work to find your next manager. Your current manager has a wonderful reputation in the state of Michigan. So there will be big shoes to fill. But we're off and running after tonight, and I'm excited. I'm humbled by the choice, and I really am going to enjoy working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you giving us a little bit of an overview. Excellent job to the committee and to Jen LePage for sorting through the different folks that may have been able to help us with this endeavor. Like I've said before, this is the most important vote we're going to have in 2021, and we've got to make sure to do whatever we can to help out Mr. Walsh and the committee and whatever we need to do to get some traction and move forward on this. I know we're all going to miss Mike, and again, big shoes to fill, but we've got to move forward and find someone to replace him so he can indeed retire. All right. Well, thank you. I'm sure we'll be talking, Frank, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right. We are on to item number 7 under unfinished business, Michigan Coastal Management Grant Agreement. City Clerk, could you please read the background?
Thank you, Mayor. In 2019, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, EGLE, announced a coastal management program grant opportunity to address unprecedented coastal erosion and infrastructure damage due to high lake levels and the increased frequency and intensity of storm events. To support vibrant, healthy, and resilient communities, the City of Marquette will, in accordance with the NOAA-approved Environmental Protection Plan, restore a critical section of severely impacted urban coastline in the City of Marquette with natural infrastructure, including coastal wetlands, dune and swale, and upland habitat. The proposed project will support public use and enjoyment through the improved public access, and the restored wetlands will provide flood storage capacity during coastal storm events and will capture stormwater runoff. This project will restore over 1,200 linear feet of coastal habitat, approximately 7.9 acres, and will serve as the linchpin to reconnect 10 acres of pristine coastal wetlands to the south and 34 acres of coastal habitat to the north. All totaled, this project will reconnect over 1 mile of critical Lake Superior coastal habitat. The grant request amount is $200,000 and has a 50.35% match, $402,851 total project cost. The intent of the grant is to provide funding for planning, design, and restoration within the project area. This project was approved by the City Commission at their December 16th, 2019 meeting. The grant was awarded on October 14th, 2020. Fiscal effect: a match of $190,000 is required, composed of $167,469 in cash and $22,531 in in-kind services. This amount was not included in the fiscal year 2021 budget and will require an adjustment. An additional $12,851 in matching funds is being provided by the Superior Watershed Partnership and project partners. Recommendation: approve the Michigan Coastal Management Grant Agreement and a budget adjustment of $167,469 in matching funds, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Stonehouse.
Your Honor, I motion to approve the I motion to approve the Michigan Coastal Management Grant Agreement and end a budget adjustment of $167,469 in matching funds, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
And do we have a second? Commissioner Davis.
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Stonehouse, discussion on this.
Only discussion, Your Honor, would be that this is a critical linchpin as we continue to restore and maintain our lakeshore. This is a great opportunity to do it largely with somebody else's money, and that's a good way to go.
Commissioner Davis, any discussion?
I agree. This is a good way to go. Grants are a wonderful way to leverage the money that we have, particularly when it comes to protecting our shoreline. And I think this is both an attractive and sustainable project. And thank you very much to the Lake Superior Watershed Partnership for adding their match. And congratulations to those that were involved in preparing the grant application. So thank you very much to them.
Other commissioners, Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
I can't see my, can you hear me? I can't see my.
Yeah.
There it is, okay. Sorry, I'm having a lot of computer trouble today. So I am concerned that what we have in front of us is obviously what was proposed, what was submitted as the grant, but it doesn't take into account the presentation we had from Baird about what's actually going to happen out there. And so I feel like I'm voting blind here. Like, this doesn't actually reflect the work that's going to happen, nor do we have a time frame. Well, we have some kind of time frame, but again, the Baird presentation, which was so recent, I'm just wondering why this doesn't include any of the information from the Baird presentation and how that's going to fit together.
We've got city manager here. I'm gonna turn the computer around. Can they see you?
Yep, we're good. That would make sense, Commissioner or Mayor Pro Tem. This particular grant was something that was in a series of grants that we had applied for, with the idea of tying some of the property further south from the Baird study, more towards Picnic Rocks along that shoreline. And we did not engineer for this because we didn't have the grant yet approved to pay for that part of the engineering, if that makes sense. So what we plan to do now is, once the grant is approved, the contract agreement is approved by the commission, then our community development staff will then begin to work with Baird to include this in the design process. This particular area that we're going to address is purely related to the shoreline restoration and stabilization. The street or the road has already been accomplished through a different grant. So this just helps us take care of more of the property to the south of where the roundabout is now.
Is any of this the NMU land, or this is all just our land?
It's mostly our land. It does butt up against NMU land. I believe that NMU's property is not right next to it, very close to it. Yes.
And then this is going to happen this construction season?
That is our hope. Once we start designing and doing the engineering for this, it's hoped that we can include it with our phase 2 of the Lakeshore project. It would make sense to do it now. We hope to.
Yeah, I guess it just would have helped to have had that in the background to understand how these things are fitting together, because we're spending a lot of money, and I think the Baird presentation showed us, where the water is going to be going and how we can, what we're doing to try to adapt to the constantly changing lake. And I think that's really, really important. And I really hope that we can continue to help people understand, because there's been a lot of destruction out there, and how we are working to help adapt to that is very important going forward. Thank you.
I appreciate those comments, and I don't disagree. So thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the city manager before I turn my screen around? Commissioner Bonzo, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This might be for the city manager, or maybe Gary Simpson, our CFO, can provide a better answer. But just curious to hear a clarification on how exactly we're going to make this work financially. I mean, it's almost $200,000. It's a non-trivial budget adjustment. I just would be curious to hear the explanation of that.
I will ask Gary to fill you in with those details.
Thanks.
Trying to get them both in the shot, but it wasn't working out.
Hi, can everybody see me? Okay. So this will actually be budget neutral in the sense that for the cash out of hand that the city is expected to pay, we will bond for that amount. So for this year's budget, there will be no impact to the budget. The impact will be in future budgets when we're paying the debt service on it. But when you spread that out over 20 years, it's really kind of not that big of a factor. So just this grant, and the reason we didn't include this in the budget previously, quite honestly, I think we really didn't think we were going to get the grant to begin with. And then because it has an impact on bond issues and capital outlay, we didn't want to include it until we absolutely know we're getting the grants. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying there. So your professional opinion is that bonding for this is not really going to be a significant issue that's weighing on us for future budgets.
No, this won't. Like I said, it won't impact this year's budget because it'll be whatever we expend. That isn't covered by the grant. We'll bond for, so we'll have revenue coming in for the bond issue. The expense going out. So in that aspect, it's going to be zero impact to the budget. On the revenue and expense side, now we are adding, to the debt, but, we do that every year anyway for capital improvement projects. So to me,
right.
it's not an issue from my perspective at all.
Okay, thank you, Gary. I really appreciate that. That makes sense to me.
Any other questions for either Gary or Mike? I see Commissioner Mayer. Is it for one of them?
Yeah, it was for Gary. Question and a comment, I guess. Just kind of looking at it over the 20 years, it'd be about $8,500 a year, and the debt payment. Can you just give us a number of what our overall budget is a year on average, just for a comparison to that 8,500.
Yeah, well, total city budget, we're usually right around $70 million. The general fund budget's roughly around $20 million. And these are just rough numbers off the top of my head. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other commissioners for Mike or Gary? Mayor Pro Tem House?
Thanks. It made me think of, this is actually maybe from Mike, this is from Mike, but could we have an update once the work has been decided what's going to happen? Could we have an update on what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, so that more folks are aware of how what you know, that's my question. And when might that be?
I understand, and I can make sure that update is included when we get closer to actually. We're going to be coming back to the commission at some point for approval of the final plan, and I'll make sure that this part of it is addressed during that section as well.
Thank you.
During the overall phase 2 discussion, right? Yeah, just making sure I'm following. Other discussion? I'm not seeing any hands, so I'm thinking about turning the computer back around, unless someone shoots their hand up for Mike or Gary here. All right. Other discussion, commissioners, on this item? See no further discussion. All in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to new business, we have 2 items related to the fire department. First, we have number 8, firefighters labor agreement. City Clerk, could you please read the background?
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Marquette has reached a new 3-year agreement with the Marquette Firefighters Association Local Number 643. The bargaining unit ratified the agreement last week. The major issues during negotiations were related to hours, training, overtime, and wages. In entering negotiations, the city sought to comply with Michigan's right to work legislation, PA 349, which became effective for firefighters with the Supreme Court decision in 2018, clarify how personnel would be paid for hours spent at training, extend the work period from a 7-day period to a 28-day period, convert personnel from salary to an hourly rate of pay, and offer a competitive wage, pension, and health insurance package. Prior to the start of negotiations, the city implemented a new health plan that both complies with the hard cap spending limits of PA 152 of 2011 and keeps the employee share of the premium costs at an affordable level. We commend the firefighters bargaining unit for their willingness to work with us on these issues to negotiate an agreement that is fair to the employees and the employer. A summary of the economic components of the agreement are shown below. Fiscal effect. Fire suppression personnel have agreed to forego any pay increases for the duration of the agreement, with the rental inspector and fire marshal being eligible for any pay increase beginning fiscal year 2021 through the life of the contract, based on an average of % pay increases settled by other city bargaining units. Based on the firefighters being paid on an hourly basis rather than a salary, staff estimates the cost to be a one-time increase of $80,000. FLSA overtime, based on the new 28-day work period, could be as much as $40,000 annually, but likely paid out in compensatory time, not costing the city anything additional at this time. These costs have not been budgeted for and will require a year-end budget adjustment. Recommendation: approve the new 3-year contract with the Marquette Firefighters Association, authorize the city clerk and the mayor to sign the agreement, and approve the corresponding budget adjustment. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
City Clerk, commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Mayer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we approve the new 3-year contract with the Marquette Firefighters Association and authorize the city clerk and the mayor to sign the agreement and approve the corresponding budget adjustment.
Thank you. We did lose video for a second there. Just wanted to let you know in case.
Could you still hear me?
You're back. Yep, now you're there. So I just wanted to point that out. Sorry about that. All right. Do we have a second on this motion? Commissioner Hanley?
I second that motion.
Commissioner Mayer, any discussion?
No, I'm just glad that everyone came to a great agreement on it and that we're able to vote on it.
Excellent. Commissioner Hanley? Okay, other commissioners, any discussion on this topic? All right, all in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 7-0. Number 9, Fire Department wage correction. City Clerk, could you please read the background?
Thank you, Mayor. City Fire Department was recently audited by the Department of Labor for compliance with the Fair Labor Standards Act. The audit was completed on February 1st, 2021, at which time the outcome was provided to the city. The audit concluded that the firefighters are owed back wages for a 2-year period ending in October 2020 for underpayment of FLSA overtime. The payment must be made within 30 days of the conclusion of the audit. Fiscal effect: in order to comply with the audit and to make the firefighters whole, a back wages payment will cost $11,974.36 from the period of October 28th, 2018 until current. This payment may require a year-end budget adjustment. Recommendation: approve the payment of back wages to the firefighters in an amount of $11,974.36 from the period of October 28th, 2018 until current, and approve the corresponding budget adjustment. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Bonzo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that we approve the payment of back wages to the firefighters in an amount of $11,974.36 from the period of October 28th, 2018 until current, and approve the corresponding budget adjustment.
And do we have a second on that motion? Commissioner Mayor?
I second the motion.
Commissioner Bonzo, any discussion?
Yes, just that, I think that, of course, it's unfortunate that this happened, but, it certainly, was not intentional on the part of the city. And I do just want to apologize to the firefighters who, weren't compensated adequately, but now we're correcting that and making them whole. And I just think this is why it's so important that we have strong federal labor laws, why we have collective bargaining rights. And I think it's, we all appreciate the work that the firefighters do for our community. And so I think this is a common sense action that I strongly support. And just wanted to also note for any members of the public who are watching, I know we had a public comment that was expressing some concern about this, that item 5C in the consent agenda was essentially purchasing some software to try and prevent these issues, some new software to prevent these issues from happening in the future. And from my understanding, we don't think that this is a concern with any other departments. So I do really appreciate the work that city staff have done to make our firefighters whole, and looking forward to voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Commissioner Mayor, anything to add?
Yeah, I would like to thank Commissioner Bumpel for pointing out the software aspect in the consent agenda, because I think that is important for the public to know, because this is kind of a complicated subject. But I also just kind of want to acknowledge the fact that this is money that these workers are due, that they have earned, and that the commission just recently learned of this, and this is the next meeting after, as soon after we're informed of it, and we are fixing it as quickly as we could. Thank you.
Any other commissioners with discussion on this topic? Well, I just wanted to add that this was certainly a unique situation, that the fire department, the labor group associated with the fire department and city staff had been calculating overtime in the same way for 40 years, I believe, and this was not something that came up as an issue until recently. So as soon as city staff were alerted to the issue, they worked with the Department of Labor to correct it. And I just want to commend city staff and the fire department for working together to get this resolved. And I'm glad that we've got some new safeguards in place to ensure that that doesn't happen in the future. We've kind of structured things a little differently, and I'm hoping that that goes smoothly, and that we're able to, keep that going without any hitches. And I think we've kind of hit three things. So I think the fire department should be all wrapped up, and we certainly appreciate the work they do, and they can continue on and have this all resolved and behind us. So looking forward to that. All right, let's go ahead and take a vote on this one. All in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 7-0. All right, we are now on our second public comment session of the evening, and I do believe we have, let's start with the verbal comments. We may have someone on the line who's interested in, I think it was Mr. Ferraro. I'm not sure if he's still with us.
I have two people on the line.
We have two people on the line? Okay.
I'll let him in first.
Sure. So Mr. Ferraro will be up first. I think it's Mr. Dennis Ferraro. Once he gets in, I will start a timer for 3 minutes.
Hello?
Mr. Ferraro, are you there?
I'm here.
Perfect. And I think I hear maybe you're watching the meeting on YouTube in the background. If you could turn the volume off, there's some feedback going on. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and start. Please state your name and physical address, not your P.O. box.
Yes, good evening. My name is Dennis Ferraro. I live at 238 Eagles Nest Road, and I'm the president of a citizens group, nonprofit, Citizens for a Safe and Clean Lake Superior. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard at the meeting tonight. I thank the mayor and the commissioners for the opportunity. Over the last several days, I've sent several emails to the commission and the mayor. I won't belabor all the points that were discussed in that, but it seems from the discussion tonight that we share many of the same goals. Our mission is to preserve and protect the beautiful lake shore and the coastal habitat of Lake Superior. I agree with Commissioner Stonehouse that it's the best hunk of seacoast around. And the goals of the Coastal Management Grant are very similar to ours, is to protect our beautiful lakeshore. We see a threat to that in the proposed Granite Loma industrial rocket launch site, and I had submitted a written comment asking the city to pass a resolution opposing it. And I think that no matter where we live, whether it's in the city or outside the city, we're all connected together, whether we're hunters, fishers, kayakers, skiers, or whatever. We're all connected by this beautiful habitat and ecosystem that our Lake Superior provides. So basically, I'm here tonight to answer any questions. I thought that as long as I burdened you with my written comments, that I should at least have the courtesy of appearing personally to answer any questions that you might have. And that's it.
All right, thank you. I think we have one other person for verbal comment this evening. Sean's going to go ahead and let him in. Whatever they may be, we will find out shortly.
I believe his name is Anthony Boyle.
Anthony Boyle, we think. Mr. Boyle, are you with us?
Hello? Yes.
A little bit quiet, but I can hear you. If you can state your name and physical address, and you will have 3 minutes once you begin.
Let me do this. Okay. My name is Anthony Boyle. I live at West Michigan Street. I am calling today to express my concerns surrounding the housing crisis. Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Just go ahead and continue. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Oh, I apologize. My phone is not working.
Okay, we are able to hear you quite clearly. If you want to just continue.
Okay. All right. So I will attempt to be brief and concise in my limited time. I've lived in Marquette in the area all my life. When I first moved from Trowbridge to the city proper, I rented a duplex with 4 other people in that one unit, paying $300 each. My room had broken windows, a hole in the wall, and an ill-fitting plywood door to the outside. I later upgraded to a converted cinder block storage space above a liquor store. but eventually, because of my privilege, I was able to become a homeowner. But the duplex I own is in the middle of a single-family zone neighborhood, and I struggle with confusing ordinances, burdensome permits, and arbitrary restrictions that do not reflect the reality that there are a dozen other extant non-conforming multifamily homes within a single block radius from my home, nor does it celebrate the diversity that these homes bring to my neighborhood. I'd like to speak on the ad hoc housing committee and how it has done some great work in starting the conversation around this issue. And I emphatically agree with many of their recommendations. However, it has been a flawed affair from the beginning. Two members of the committee obviously directly profit from the rising costs of housing, and no representation was given to community members most impacted by our cost-prohibitive housing market and its ever-diminishing inventory. This, in my view, is likely a reason why the committees focus so heavily on market-based solutions instead of taking a holistic approach to the issue of housing. So much time was spent on how to accommodate developers, and very little was spent addressing the material needs of residents. To the best of my knowledge and following along, it wasn't even until January that our homeless population was mentioned. The reality here is that there is no market-based solution because this problem was created by the market. A single-family home is valued higher than the exact same property would be if it was partitioned into multiple units. Developers won't create affordable housing unless heavily subsidized by tax dollars. Even then, the resulting units are parceled out via means testing that can exclude people of variable income or charge $800 a month and call that
Mr.
affordable.
Boyle, thank you for your comments.
Yes?
You've hit the 3-minute mark at this point. We appreciate you coming in for the call.
Thank you for your time.
All right, do we have anyone else for public comment?
I believe there's one written comment left.
Okay, we have one written comment. City Clerk, if you could please read that, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. The only written comment is from Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street. And she writes, during the recent work session regarding the ad hoc housing committee recommendations with respect to potential changes in the winter parking ban, I made a suggestion during public comment that in order to understand why the winter parking ban is required, I recommend that each commissioner do a ride along in a city plow and talk to the plow drivers about what they would expect to encounter if the city allowed any sort of vehicle parking on city streets during the winter months. I respectfully request that each member of the commission tell the public if they have, in fact, done such a ride along with the plow driver, and if they have not, do they plan on doing such a ride along? And if they do not plan on doing such a ride along, why not?
Thank you, City Clerk. All right, that brings us to comments from the commission. We will start things off with Commissioner Hanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to address exactly that with Margaret Rum. I did actually speak to a plow driver in the city of Marquette, and he did express concerns exactly like they would with the parking ban. But what I would like to point out is at no point did the commission actually, or the ad hoc housing committee, come out and say that they wanted to get rid of the winter parking ban. They just said it is a possibility. These are all things that they're looking at, and they're going to propose different ideas to us. Do we have the perfect solution at this point? Absolutely not. Are we going to keep working until we can find a solution that benefits the citizens of Marquette? Absolutely we are. And that will include talking to plow drivers and talking to the city staff and looking at other cities that have it. I understand that we have a lot of snow and that leads to a lot of problems, but I think that we can find a way to work forward in some aspect to help it, to help these things. I would absolutely be okay with riding in a plow truck, but with COVID, I don't think that would match with the COVID regulations right now, which is why I reached out to a plow driver and spoke to them personally just to see where they stood on it. But I don't think it would be safe for any of our committee members to ride on a plow truck with another driver at this point. Other than that, I think I pretty much touched what I wanted to. Have a good night.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Yes,
Thank you.
Nope.
Sorry,
Mayor
Hill
Pro Tem
calls-
Hill. Sorry if you misheard me. We're going in alphabetical order, Commissioner Stonehouse.
Yeah, two things. And I have gotten a notice that some people are getting feedback on my sound. I apologize. We might have to get something done to my city computer here. Yeah, it is not safe for people to be inside of a cab right now. So, and I also want to say that I think we were just beginning this conversation on housing, and I think all the ideas putting them all out on the table, seeing where things combine, overlap, maybe been tried in the past, didn't work, but might work now. I mean, there's all kinds of different things. This is really a discovery process, and just at the very beginning of it. So the goal right now is to find the good ideas, maybe run a few pilots, certainly talk to other communities. But it is really one of the most important things we could be talking about right now is housing. I also wanted to address a concern that several people wrote to me about today, which is what's going on at the We Energy plant. And I have a professional relationship with Eagle. I reached out and spoke to their press person today, and just wanted to let folks know that this is a responsibility of the state environmental department called Eagle, Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. And they are going to be working, they've stopped the work that caused the problem and will be working to figure out what happens next, and that there will be future updates on that. And I just, finally on that note, so folks know there is a statewide 1-800 number as well as a website to report problems. It's called the Pollution Emergency Alert System, or PEAS, like peas on a plate. And the number is 800-292-4706. And so there is a way you can do a search for the Pollution Emergency Alert System and can report any problem, water, air, any kind of potential environmental issue, and the Eagle will have someone respond to you. I also wanted to thank everyone for their patience as we move through the next phase of COVID. And please, as we have more vaccine, that we are still going to have to wear masks. We are still going to need to be physically distant. But I want to thank everyone for following all these rules. And as we continue to hopefully get to the other side of this, really appreciate everyone's patience and concern for others wearing masks. Thank you.
Commissioner Mayer?
Hello. I also would like to respond to a couple of comments, but I'll start with the snowplow comment. Obviously, with COVID being in effect right now, it is not safe for us to be driving around in a cab with people outside of our family units, as is designated by the state right now. I also don't think I would be comfortable putting our plow drivers and their families in danger if I was asymptomatic and wasn't aware of it, or my fellow colleagues on the commission who could be riding the same cab. With that also being said, and on the topic of COVID, I'm aware that there's a lot of people that I've at least personally spoken to that I know of that are very unsure with getting the vaccine. I would just like to reassure the public, I have gotten my first round of the vaccine and I feel completely fine. It's like, it felt like getting the flu shot. I haven't developed any weird symptoms. I can update everyone on round 2, but I suspect that I'll be just fine as well. There was quite a few comments as well today about budget adjustments. Realistically, if you look at all these items, there are things that you couldn't have anticipated last year when the budget was being created. And even if you had a rough idea that they were going to be happening, you had no idea the dollar amount at the time. So there's really nothing we could do about it at the time. We're kind of going with it as we are right now. And with that, I'm going to yield. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Now I can go, Your Honor. Thank you very much. Good meeting tonight. A lot of good work done, and certainly it's great to see the city manager search, I guess, officially begin this evening. And it's going to be certainly a good thing for the city, and I hope we can all pull hard to make sure that's successful. It's also very good to see the COVID numbers going down in the Upper Peninsula every week of every day. And it's, in part, I'll give some credit to the Marquette good folks at the Health Service, because their inoculation program, I think, has been running very smoothly lately. And it's been good to be part of that and to see how smoothly that can operate as they ramp it up and do more and more people. So we'll wait for additional vaccine and see the fine results that will come of that. Interesting situation with the spaceport. And remembering back to when that started and the idea of it. But I think it would be a very good thing if the folks that are promulgating that, the association, would actually put out some hard information for people and be transparent and not as oblique as they're being now. Because I think that the folks out there, all of us, deserve good answers on what's going to happen, good answers on when the reports will be due, good answers on when the environmental impact studies may be completed. So we have some answers to an area that's greatly uncertain. And they owe us that much, and they owe the county that much. Because after all, they did go through a little bait and switch. The original concept, of course, was K.I. Sawyer. All of a sudden it went out to Granite Loma. Instead of being vertical, it now went horizontal. Those are all changes, and the association needs to own up to those and provide the public with good quantifiable information about what their intentions are so that decisions can then be made. Right now, we don't have that. I would also suggest most strongly, perhaps the commission should take the action of directing the ad hoc housing committee that they will not go take any step to recommend or remove the winter parking ban. And the reason I say that is because it has become a lightning rod. When everybody thinks of the work of the good work that's being done, they think of that which they classify as being something that's not very good and not something that's good for Marquette. And it detracts from the work that they're actually accomplishing that's valuable. So as long as that's hanging there, it becomes a great big fat target for everybody to throw something at. If you remove it, and it would certainly be a minor portion of anything they would do anyway, then you can get down to a more professional level where the report can be evaluated and the recommendations on their own merits without having that type of a red flag flying over it. News tonight, by the way, just before the meeting began, indicated that the work at Presque Isle has been given a stop order. In other words, they could do no more work. They have to develop a remediation plan or a capture plan for the dust that's coming out. And Eagle talked about there are fines attached to what has happened. So certainly some good steps made for the health of the community and some good action made on that project. But I suspect that that too will be a bit of a moving target. Thank you, Your Honor, for the time.
And Commissioner Bonzo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I just want to reiterate some of the points that were made by Mayor Pro Tem Hill and Commissioner Stonehouse about the situation out of the Presque Isle power plant. Certainly concerning, and I just want to urge the city manager to continue to provide the commission with updates on the situation there as we learn more details. Because I was contacted by a couple folks who live fairly nearby and who are understandably concerned. I mean, I know I would be. So hopefully we get some more answers on that and get resolution on that soon. Just to address the winter parking issue, I do understand some folks' concerns. I want to actually take a minute here and read what it actually says in the initial report of findings from the ad hoc housing committee about the winter parking ban. So this is what it says. This is all that it says about the winter parking ban in that report. The committee also believes the winter parking ban should be reevaluated and consideration given towards a policy that permits limited on-street parking. Such a policy change would allow a reduction in minimum parking requirements, may lead to increased housing unit development. This will require extensive consultation with the Department of Public Works, and on-street winter parking may not be universally applicable. So I think that it's important to note what is actually stated in the report, and then what might be being stated by other people who perhaps are, rushing to conclusions or perhaps misrepresenting some of the content of the report. Definitely understand the concerns that have been expressed by some folks in public comments and by Commissioner Stonehouse, and I respect those viewpoints. And it may very well be that after consulting with the Department of Public Works and the fire and the police department and the traffic and parking committee and the public, which we all hope to do in the coming months, that it just isn't feasible. But I think that to sort of put a gag order on the committee with regards to discussion about any options at this point, I think would probably be a bit premature. Ultimately, the commission will be making determinations on policy. We're just an advisory committee. But that being said, I do think that some of the concerns that have been raised in public comments tonight by Ms. Brown, Mr. Glendon, Mr. Boyle, I think that all of them raise some valid points. They have some good ideas. And I invite all of them to reach out directly to me and have a productive conversation. As the chair of the ad hoc housing committee, I want to make sure that moving forward, we're including as many perspectives and ideas as possible. I think it's important to reiterate, this is an initial report, and the final report will be more in depth. It will cover more issues that were really just sort of touched on quite lightly, like homelessness, like low-income housing, like sustainability. I think that Mr. Glendon raises a valid point about the opportunity zone and how that could be a catalyst for some more affordable housing development in the north side of Marquette. So, I think these are all really great ideas, but I just hope people reach out and share some more details on those ideas and are willing to have some of those productive discussions so that we can incorporate them into the final report, if that's the committee's pleasure. So I greatly appreciate those public comments and welcome any feedback. My contact info is on the city website, like every other commissioner's, if they want to get in touch.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to welcome Frank Welsh and his company to our new partnership. Choosing a new city manager is like the most important thing that we're going to be doing this year. And I think it's off to a good start and anxious to get going. Not that I want to get rid of Mike Angeli, I just want to make sure that we find the right replacement. And I guess I'll continue the ad hoc housing a little bit more. I see on social media and some other comments about people that the commission is going to do this and the commission is going to do that. And the commission is not going to do anything yet. We're not out to implement any of the recommendations. And I think it's important that the committee is allowed to do that research. Marquette is unique enough that we have to find solutions good for ourselves. It's good to hear about various solutions from around the country, but it's important to discover and innovate for our community. Not what's good for larger cities, not what's good for communities in different climates, not what's good for communities that have different sort of a wealth or demographics, but we do need to innovate and look what's best for Marquette. So many of you in the community have been contacting us, either public comment, but also individually. And please continue to do that. That's the next most important thing that we're going to be doing this year, is taking a look at that particular issue. So keep those comments coming, and we're listening.
Absolutely. I'm going to piggyback on that, Commissioner Davis. Just one thing I wanted to talk about is that missing middle housing. We had a work session on this past week, workforce housing, whatever you want to call it, but we've got a housing concern issue in the city of Marquette. Many other places have it too, but we're trying to get started on tackling it. It's the beginning of many conversations, and I know I've said that already. All the recommendations that have come forth are initial recommendations. The ad hoc committee is going to go back, meet several more times, come back with a final report, and even then, it's not set in stone. Then it's, you know, the beginning of some more conversations, and then the city commission can take pieces of that, or, you know, maybe some of the recommendations and move forward on a few things, and wait till a later date on the rest after, I'm thinking public forums, I'm thinking other work sessions. This is not gonna be, you know, midsummer, we just vote on the whole dang report and say, yep, let's do it all. No, that's not how this goes. This is a slow process. It's going to take a while. So to that end, I just wanted to say I certainly appreciate the comments that we had in the work session. I've had a lot of people reach out to me individually and on social media, phone calls. But what I don't appreciate is some members of the public who are taking the information and trying to spread misinformation on Facebook, particularly. And I'm growing increasingly frustrated by the manic posts that I'm seeing on Facebook about this issue that have no merit, no facts, and I just want to caution the public that just because you see it on Facebook doesn't mean it's true. Go to the city website, download the report yourself, or go to our YouTube page and watch our work session, and you can see what the content is that we're talking about. And I know the majority of people understand that and are seeing it, but I just have to say it because I'm growing really frustrated with the fact that information is being construed that is not factual. And it's just repeated again and again, and just because it's said more and more doesn't make it true. Also wanted to address the question by Ms. Margaret Brum about why we won't be writing in snowplow trucks, or if we're not. I will not be making that request at this point because the winter parking ban is one of many ideas, highlight on the word idea, that has been presented, and it is not something that we're moving forward with at this point. That's the first reason, first and foremost. I really don't want the winter parking ban conversation to overtake our housing conversation. That is one small piece of the puzzle that we might consider at a future date. We might not. We might throw it out. I don't know. But it's not, we're not at the point that I'm going to hop in a plow truck to vote no on that right now, because we could decide for other reasons, other than the plow trucks, that doesn't work for our city. Secondly, again, a couple commissioners mentioned this, it's COVID. We're not going to sit in the truck with a plow truck driver and risk getting them infected with COVID, and then they can't plow our streets for next week. I mean, that would be a public outcry, in my opinion. So I'm really not happy with the pressure that's being put on the commission to ride along. You know, I, as mayor, would not recommend commissioners at this point for safety reasons due to COVID, for our own safety and for the safety of our plow truck drivers. It's not the time. Maybe there is a future time, and I think there will be, but right now, it doesn't make any sense. Once we're vaccinated, we can talk. Now that I've had my rant over, thank you for listening, guys, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. All right, so on a more positive note, I had a chance last week to be the host for Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist on a UP call that would have been our one of our UP 200, meetings. Remember we had those back when we could meet in person and all get together, and there would be lunches and happy hours, and we'd meet downtown and wear stormy chromers and all that stuff. But anyway, it was a really nice chance to hear from him about the state of the state address and the proposed budget that I think is coming out sometime this week. Does that sound right? I'm looking at Gary, maybe the state budget. I think it's coming out either this week or next week. So more to come on that. It was kind of just a nice chance to connect with Upers from across the UP. Certainly appreciate those opportunities. They're kind of few and far between right now. So I think that's all I had. City Manager, do you have any comments this evening?
Sean says I do not.
He does not have any comments. Sean says that Mike does not. I'm not sure what that's about, but either way, he does not have any comments. So at this point, we are adjourned at 7:59 p.m. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in a